true to what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, hunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant, my truth always denied. My history is shrouded in a spider web of lies. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read. Of the freedom of press, somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
How can I pledge allegiance to a country built on lies? Or raise my children to believe they're equal in its eyes? My leaders are assassinated for speaking their mind.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. What a jam-packed morning we have this morning. Normally we try to let our guests sleep in until 8 o'clock hour, which we did for Miss Henson here. But Cora Holbrook, our sponsor, the Money Store, was in earlier this morning in the 7 o'clock hour talking about renovate your dream home with Carlos Lobos from Dream Builders. Like I said, I want to thank the Money Store for all your mortgage needs. Give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. That's 508-345-4726. And we are, like I said, you're listening at the Round Table with MAMLEO. You give us a call here at 617-282-0685, 617-282-0685. You know, I'm almost embarrassed to call her my guest because she's more like family. We've had this one's been like a family this morning. You know, Sharon Hinton, who is back, who used to broadcast from here as well. So she's a long time. She knows the ropes here, but she is running for District 5 City Council in the upcoming election here in the city of Boston. It represents areas such as Mattapan, Hyde Park, Reedville, and Rosendale. She said her slogan is neighbor to neighbor. The policies she's running on, if you have any interest in it, is quality education, affordable housing, environmental justice, community empowerment, healthcare equity, disability advocacy, and senior services. You know, I know one thing about Sharon is that she has been an activist, and usually those are the people that we want in these roles, and what we've been getting is politicians. So I'm hoping that we can flip this, but also, you know, Sharon, it seems, I know the mayor was in on a broadcast here on Priscilla's show on Thursday. It just concerns me because it seems like the mayor is trying to stack the deck with the council as a rubber stamp of not having any independence, and voices like yours would probably be shouted out because that's not what they're looking for, people who are actually running to represent their communities, their district. But then when they get in there, I've seen the voting is kind of, for some, they act like they work for the mayor, and there should be an independence. So bless you. We'll let you introduce yourself and explain to people why you decided at this time to run for District Council for District 5.
Good morning. You are a brother,
yes.
Brother Larry.
Appreciate that.
And also Pastor Hobbs. I don't really know you, but we're going to get to know each other.
Brother Rhodes.
And I was one of the founding broadcasters before we became FM at Boston Praise Radio. And so I have to give honor to Pastor Wall for having independent media. Yeah. That's what democracy, and that's what this Constitution is about.
And that's
being
what they're
threatened
trying to shut down.
But they're shutting it down. And so why did I decide to run? Well, I was prompted to run by Domingos DeRosa. I was out getting signatures with him. And we were in West Roxbury. And so he said, you know, sis, it's not really a democracy if there's only one person on the ballot. At that point, there was no one in the ballot. But the assumption is the incumbent is going to run again. And so the incumbent is Enrique Pepin. And the other person that is in the race, there are three of us, is Winston Pierre. that being said, it was a Sunday morning, and I was like, Mingos, I'm in getting my doctorate in education, Northeastern. My daughter's in nursing school. Life is lifing. I'm doing too many things. You have to be busy and do all this stuff to be run for office. He says, sis, you're already doing it. You've been doing it. Pull the papers. So I went to church because I got to talk to God.
You got to pray on it, right?
Right. So I went to church, and the 12:30 service was about Esther being born for such a time as this. And I was like, out of all the stories you could tell, it was that one. And so I went and read the book of Esther, because what we remember may not be what was really written. And it talked about her being prepared and not letting people know that she was Hebrew. And, Mordecai, her uncle / father figure, told her, this is how you, she didn't have a choice. And some people need to go and read. This is a Bible-believing radio station in the basement of a Bible-believing church, so read the story. And so I looked at that, and I'm one of those people sometimes, like Moses, go, who, me? What? But I prayed about it, and when God says it, I did it. And I pulled the papers the next day, Monday. And then, when you go down to the election commission, you have to wait a day until they print the signature papers in your name. So I went on Facebook that day, and I said, what do you guys think about it? Sometimes, we want that reassurance from man. And 240 people hit me up on Facebook as far away as Australia, my sister from down under, Ibina, and Horace Smalls from Paris. And they're like, where do I send a check? I was like, whoa, okay, so it's not just me. And then the next day I went down and got the signature papers, and I just started to buzz. Like, my whole body was like energized, like when a kid sticks his finger in the electric socket. And so I was talking, you have to go through this orientation, everything. And so I was smiling. I couldn't stop smiling. So I said to the guy at the election commission, said, am I supposed to be this happy? Like, I'm really feeling like I haven't felt this feeling. I know what the Holy Ghost feels like, but I was like, whoa. And since then, I have found myself praying for people. I don't know about you, but I don't remember even, the Orange Menace with the Bible held upside down. I don't remember him praying for anybody. And Jimmy Carter, I don't remember him praying for anybody in the campaign trail. So I know what I'm doing is different. And I believe that God has me out here for more than just running for office.
No,
we need an independent voice.
Right. It's interesting you said that, because I'm not trying to interject myself into what you're saying, because I had when I became president of MAMLEO, right? It's a huge task when you're taking on something that is your mission is change, right?
Yes.
And you're going to be attacked for that, because the status quo is what they want. So when you were saying that, I'm like, I'm bobbing my head, because I'm like, wow, I've walked in the sister's shoes. Because when you are there and you're honest about things, right, people feel that they're under attack. But we are under attack, right? And you're right, you cannot change this system from the outside, right?
Well, you have to do both, inside, outside. Right.
But we don't seem to have many inside players,
Nope.
I've been very disappointed, I'll be honest with you. The president of the council, Ruth Z, I think her, for me, she's just been ceremonial in her position, and a validation of what the mayor wants. There's really very little independence in the council, and some of those who have been attacked in some ways as being racist, because look, we have to be honest. I tell people, you have to be honest with yourself so you can be truthful to others, right? With others. And we're not seeing that. So when I saw that you were running, I'm like, wow, because what a breath of fresh air, right? Somebody also, but the qualifications are there. We people who, it's become a situation, Sharon, where people are running because there's an open seat, or they got the blessing of the mayor, but they really don't have an understanding of what they were getting into. Because what we found on this broadcast, Ed Flynn has been on, he's been a frequent guest, and it was shocking to me, but not surprising, that there was really no orientation or nothing. Once you get elected, like, they don't even have a process to introduce you, really. And he said that he tried to have something and no one showed up to even learn about the job they were going to be doing.
But it's deep, though. There is an orientation. Okay, I'm about to get in trouble. First off, I want to thank my favorite city councilor, Charles Yancey, for endorsing me. And he called up on this broadcast, and endorsed me on Priscilla's show.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been on Pastor Hobbs' show before that, Healing Our Lands, right? And so when I look at my history, I didn't just consider standing up for the people. I considered the fact that my father was murdered when I was 13, because that's what he did. And, you know, let's break it down, because it's a Christian station. I knew that Jesus was a black man, because all he did was heal people, help people, deliver people, and they killed him. So it's like, okay, I know he's black. And then when I read, you know, he's got skin like bronze and hair like wool, I say, okay, it's the case closed, step down, thank you very much.
Right.
So we know. But then even on a more personal level, my father, Carnell Eaton, who actually has a plaque next to that ridiculous Embrace statue, is named one of the 65 civil rights icons in Boston. So more personally to me, I know when you put yourself out there, the second person I spoke to after talking to God was my daughter. And I said, if I make this decision, it's not just me, because they're going to come after me. They may possibly come after you. And I got a phone call from outside of the state of one of my former students that said, Mrs. Hinton, Professor, be careful, because I've heard stories about Mayor Wu from outside of the state. She will eat your children. And I said, if she goes for my child, they'll be filling her position for another reason. I don't play with family, and I don't play with my people. There are very few independent voices. I might think of one, possibly, that is on the city council. There are no black Americans on the city council. But the sacrifice that black Americans in this city, this state, this country have paid for with blood, other people are using as a launching pad for their particular agenda, and all of a sudden they flip-flop, like the vice president, right? She bragged about Chucks and listening to Tupac, which was a lie, listening to Tupac, and then she gets in there, and all of a sudden she's a Jamaican immigrant and a Southeast Asian. Some people have gotten in there, and all of a sudden they're Jamaican, they're Haitian, they're this, they're that, anything but black. And some of the, so first off, black people cannot be racist, because and we could not be prejudiced. And I get into arguments with people about that. We're not prejudging people in this country. We're judging them based on their history and 400 years of history. Yeah. So we're not prejudging. We're looking at what you've done. Yeah. And being racist, you would have to be prejudiced with the institutions to be able to enforce that racism. We own nothing. We control nothing. So let's clear that up. One of the reasons that my voice has been, and me personally, have been attacked by the current administration is because I am the independent voice. The person who is in the position now was put in there by the mayor. I like him. I like him. I like the other guy too. But I can like a lot of people that I don't want to work with or work for. It's not personal. And so far, I have to say to the other two gentlemen, young gentlemen, as we've all been professional, and this is what democracy looks like. When you see us in public, it looks like we're all on the same side, because in a way we are. We're fighting for our constituencies, but there is no one really standing up for black Americans. And we made the way for everybody else to come here, and they're not acknowledging that.
Well, no. You're listening to At the Round Table with MAMLEO, 617-282-0665, 617-282-0685. You know, it's interesting you say that, and I'm going to get into some of your policy issues here in a moment, but I want to highlight, you know, this, like Rose is Haitian American, right?
Sac passé. Hey, bonjour, comment ça va? Ça va bien? Okay.
Okay, y'all take over. But he is my brother, right? And the love and respect that we have for each other was formulated, and we've had those conversations, because what has they worked well for them is the division, right?
That's
right.
That
some people will hear what you're saying. Oh well, she doesn't like that. That's not what you're saying.
That's not true.
No, I get it, and that's what I'm saying is that we have to be honest that we have bought into that. Road he and I should not be this close.
It's absolutely not true.
I get it, but they're
from the start of the country, you know, from the get-go. And like I said, I keep meaning to bring in that paper that talks about the fact that every law that this country that's passed has been laws against the indigenous
anti-black
people, black people,
anti-black.
Like just
call it what it is.
It's been it's white supremacy. Right. It's making sure that they stay on top or whatever. But bottom line is like there's so many laws even before the country was formally founded and formed that essentially it's a way to legally be able to put people and make them second-class citizens.
Right.
So let's be clear about a couple of different things. There have been Caribbean and African and Haitian and Jamaican. Marcus Garvey, the largest liberation movement, Jamaican. He never made it to Africa, but he led the largest Back to Africa movement. Chicago, founded by Dusable, Haitian. Let's talk about when Haitian troops were brought over here to help us fight against slavery. Let's be clear. I'm very clear. I'm a history teacher. I'm very clear about the message and the lesson from Haiti freeing itself from French colonialism and what the colonial powers did to impoverish and keep this country, Haiti, impoverished, right?
Still do, to this day.
But the problem is that, and Malcolm said this, only a fool allows his enemy to educate his children. So we have not done a good job of educating each other about each other and understand that the only enemy that all of us have is the devil. Let's be clear, because it's a spiritual thing that's going down, but also you're talking about the elite. We the people was always we the white man with property. It wasn't even all white people.
Exactly.
So we understand that. And during the 60s, we also, and I say we, across the board, black, white,
it's always been Asian. A class issue. It's like the have and the have-nots.
It's a poverty. It is a have and have-nots. It's a poverty issue. Who's got it and who doesn't have it?
Well, the whole thing of the U.S. Constitution, it was called the Convention of the Well-Bred, Well-Fed, Well-Read. It's like well-wed. Like you married the right people, you had the right education, you had the money and like inheritance. That's who belonged in that.
That's a good segue, because one of the things that I see on your platform here that you're running on, and a lot of folks have run on it, and this is why I think you're more than qualified because of your background, your pedigree, is education, right? We have seen, and I've worked in the schools before my retirement of almost 2 years. I can't believe now.
Well, we call it education, but remember, it's an indoctrination,
right?
Okay.
When it's by the colonizer, it's indoctrination. When it's by us, it's education. There's a difference.
Well, okay, we're being indoctrinated, unfortunately, the Boston public school system.
And that's our fault, because when HBCUs rose up, we couldn't go to school with white people, and so our response, and it's always been our response as black people in this country, is we got to do something better for us, right? And so when we had HBCUs, that one-room schoolhouse, and that black teacher that was there teaching everything, the HBCUs have collectively
produced more doctors, more engineers,
more scientists,
more lawyers, and
more architects, more anything. But we were doing that before, because when we came over here, we had that kind of. So our history did not start in slavery. Our history started in Africa, and everybody came from Africa, because the first woman was African. Okay, next.
So on the education piece, Mayor Wu ran on that, and
woman of color,
right? Woman of color, but several mayors have ran on education, and one of the things that the citizens of Boston voted on was to have an elected school committee,
120,000.
right? And Mayor Menino, God rest his soul, didn't agree with him a lot of things, and that was one of them. But the folks voted that they want an independent body of people looking at the education. And the reason why Mayor Menino said that he needed the autonomy to be able to put people in there who were going to get things fixed, and he was having a difficult time. Well, that experiment has not worked. It has been an abysmal failure, and our kids are paying the price, because if you look at the breakdown of the population in Boston public schools, almost 90% of them are black and brown. Right, so
of the kids, but not the teachers.
Kids, exactly. And I say that because is that the reason why the education or the effort? Because it's not a money problem. That's the largest budget in the city, $1.4 billion. How would you, as a city councilor, get a dysfunctional council working? Because we know Boston is a mayoral strong city, but in the last election cycle, they were able to get some modifications for the new mayor. Not strong enough. There was just some tweaking.
A little bit.
Right, because most people feel like the city council is just, after the budget is passed, they can go home, right? Why are we paying them $100,000 to basically rubber stamp what the mayor wants and go along to get along? What would your platform be, or trying to improve the quality of education here in the city of Boston?
So let me go back to empowering the people, which is also community engagement. The first thing that I thought was disgusting was pulling the nomination papers, and you couldn't get them in Haitian Creole or Cape Verdean Creole. Boston, I know that look on your face. That was a look on my face. I was like, wait a minute. Boston has the third largest Haitian population in the country. How do you not have these, and you can't alter the papers, you can't copy them, you can't do anything with them, right? So it's like, well, can I get it in Cape Verdean Creole? And they're like, no. I said, why not? And so I was told that legally all they had to do was provide it in Spanish, Mandarin, and Vietnamese. So I was like, but what? So that would be one of the first things I would do.
If I see correctly, this is Mattapan.
Right.
As well, right? Hyde Park.
Right.
It's a large Haitian population.
And Boston has the third largest Haitian population in the country. Okay. So you automatically have set up the system to
disenfranchise. We keep them out, not even engage them at all.
Hello.
You know, like, hi neighbor.
Hello.
Yeah, like, what's going on there?
And so, you know, I learned French in elementary school in BPS, and that was the only thing you could take. And then when I went to, in Henry L. Higginson Lee School, and then when I went to Beaver Country Day School, I could take Spanish. So I've taken Spanish, so I was totally literate at one point. Read, speak, and write French, and read, speak, and write Spanish. But then if you don't lose it, and then you've got all these different dialects. Yeah. Like I speak English, but I've gone down south. I've gone to New York, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So that's English, right? So that would be the first thing. The second thing is to let me go back. In the first year of Mayor Wu's and the Thought Comes Reigns came into office, I was part of a 9-person coalition and all these different educational coalitions and organizations, and we finally got a meeting with her and said, what are you going to do? More people voted for an elected school committee than voted for you. And if you're a democratically elected mayor, then how do you ignore democracy? Because if they're smart enough to vote you into office, they're smart enough to vote for their own. And so she used the same conversation that mayors before have used, and it was based on a lie. The school committee was dismantled when black people in the school committee were actually coming to power. And so the conversation is, well, you know, all the politics and the corruption and Pixie Palladino and Louis Day Hicks. I'm old enough to know Pixie Palladino. I'm old enough to know what that was like. I'm old enough to be part of the generation that fought for voting rights, civil rights, women's rights. Right? And so don't lie here. And I'm from Boston. Don't sit here and lie to me and tell me that's the reason why you dismantled the people's power. What you do is you get corruption out. So I want to be on the chair of the education committee because the current head and the former head are useless. Now, I'm not saying Julia Mejia because at one point she was. And I met her on the picket lines in front of the bowling building. And then she formed C-Plan, which empowered parents. So there are certain individuals, but one individual cannot change the whole course of a system. And one person in power, whether they're the mayor, the president, or the governor, can change 400 years of oppression. So we have to do this together. Ed Flynn, I was walking to the station this morning, and I remember being in the city council chambers where he was trying to get the head of the Department of Transportation. And this is something that affects everybody. The right turn and red signal comes on. Well, cars can turn at the same time that people who walk on the street. He was trying to get initiated. Can you put a delay in between when the people are walking across the street and the cars? And he was voted down. Voted down. So when you're looking at, you have to be part of the coalition, form coalitions. I've done that all my life, from starting the first Black Student Union at Beaver Country Day School. And those same people that I went to prep school, high school, actually we got together and funded an endowment in my father's name. The goal was $250,000. In a year and a half, we raised $240,000 to support students of color and teachers of color at Beaver Country Day School. I know how to get stuff. And Larry, you know, when we did the commencement caravan, I'm not about just working in the system when the system is not working. The system is not working for seniors, for disabled people, for poor people, for people looking for affordable housing, for people that need the air, the water to be clean, the food to be available that's healthy food. I mean, when you look across the district, Mattapan looks different than Rosendale Square, that looks different than Reedville, that looks different than Rosendale.
And to that point, yesterday I was coming back from a meeting I was having in Boston. I was driving up through Mattapan Square, and I looked over near the church, and they were giving out food. They had food out, and there must have been 500 to 600 people.
That's right.
On the street there, because the need. And this isn't just greed. This is the need, right?
Since COVID.
But I think that people don't understand is that historically, whoever was in the office for the president, right, didn't really affect the fund. The money still came back. the people on the ground here weren't doing such a good job with it, right? But the money was there. Now that has been cut. I think people are going to finally start to see, because they got comfortable. Well, no matter who's in office, these things were still available, right? They're not going to be, and it's, people are starting to see a little bit about the next year or two. This is why who gets elected for the city council is going to be so important, because the budget hasn't shrunk. They're increasing, but there isn't going to be more, because they're going to have to decide whether or not we're going to be raising more taxes, which Mayor Wu raised the property taxes here in the city of Boston. Boston doesn't have a money problem; they have a spending problem.
Well, they have a willingness to help people, a willingness to help all people, because what we have is a narrative that says it's not you that's the problem, it's them. And while this machine perfects the oppression and oppressive system for
we'll get that. Well, go ahead, finish your thoughts.
So while we're sitting here and, you know, there's an oppression Olympics that's happening. My people are more oppressed than your people, and my people, and my people. And then I read this morning that the Orange Menace has pressured institutions that could actually have the money to fight back, Harvard, Columbia. And to me, that's criminal.
No, to me, that's they bribe. Okay,
right.
I'm just
an extortion.
Yes,
right. You
that's
do this, or you pay me this, you pay that. But he's getting away with it. And so there are Jewish students who are about to receive reparations on a campus when black folks in this country have received nothing. Everybody's gotten something but us. And so, but we have to stick together and understand it's not them, it's us. So when I said neighbor to neighbor together, I remembered in Boston where you could leave your door. You know, the neighborhood looked out for each other. Auntie or Nana was in the window, and if she knew your parents had to work, it's come on, baby, come on over here. Let me feed you. Let me make sure. When neighbors did not have rent, you did a rent party, and it wasn't about beating each other up. It's like, it could be me next time. Help us out. So the neighbor to neighbor thing, and I live on an amazing street in Hyde Park, and so it's like Mayberry with more people of color. Because Mayberry didn't have any black people, but it's like you help each other, you know, shop. You help each other with the food. You share resources with each other, because if one of us goes down, all of us goes down. And it doesn't matter if you are a white and privileged person in one particular neighborhood. Eventually, it's going to affect you.
Well, and we're starting to see that, because I've been collaborating with people in Charlestown and other parts of the city, right? And we're finding that there is a commonality that we think that they're doing better or they're being treated better, but they're not. So we have got to come together collectively. If not, we're all going to fall individually. Speaking of falling,
you okay?
Right on cue.
Boom.
We're going to grab this call. If
sure.
Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Yes, good morning. This is T. Michael Thomas from the People's Academy.
T. Michael, too much talent, Thomas. Hey.
Good morning,
I know I have the right to call her professor. Sister.
Absolutely.
I have a comment and a question.
Well, first, let me just say thank you for allowing that impromptu visit with those young people. The feedback from them from visiting the People's Academy yesterday was just phenomenal. They just couldn't believe that was taking place in their community. So I want to thank you for that. I know wasn't on your schedule, but just
I want to thank T. Michael Thomas, my brother from another mother. This brother and I have known each other 10 years now. And we met at another radio station, and that was divine, the way it happened. T. Michael Thomas is the only black man that does what he does in the country with copper artistry. And again, I've watched the powers that be try to oppress this brother, keep him from resources, because the example of what he has is being this genius, this wonderful gem in our community. Can I talk about you, T. Michael, for a minute? This wonderful genius. When technical, vocational, and manufacturing jobs allowed black people to rise up from poverty, to go into business on our own, to take our own creativity, to generate money that generationally lifted us up out of poverty. And we had home economics, and we had shop and everything, and that was taken out of the school. So they keep gutting us at the foundational levels to be able to stand up on our own 2 feet, but then they blame us for not being able to stand up on our own 2 feet. So T. Michael Thomas, my hat is off to you.
So you can't pull up your bootstraps if you don't have any boots. Right. T, go ahead. You want to say something, because we got another caller on the line.
Yes, I'll make this quick. Sorry, 2 things. One, this is why we need Sharon Hinton and a couple others like her in city government.
Thank you.
Because if we look that our lives haven't been changed with all the incumbents, things have actually gotten worse. So I already know you will be a good partner for us.
Thank
but
you.
I will say this, the time is ticking. Great show, and I will be listening.
Thank you, T. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Go ahead and grab this other call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Helen. How are you?
Doing all right. Well, I had a couple points that I wanted to make.
Sure.
Well, considering the conversation that you've been having all this morning. So, one point I want to say is that, in my opinion, if you sell each other out, you're a racist. It's like, because if you're part of the power structure and you sell out others of your same background, it's like you're a racist.
Traitor.
Well,
Like, just look at,
could be a
let me
traitor.
just say that. Let me just interject it because Helen, I think for folks who know, and that's why I say about it's all about relationship building because you and I are a perfect example, right? Who didn't know each other, right? And for folks who don't, Helen is an Asian American. I see her as family. I don't see, I celebrate her culture with her and the diversity of who she is. But what brings us together is her willingness to fight this fight, right? And not say, well, because there's somebody that looks like me, I'm not going to hold them to task.
That's right.
And I've done the same. I have huge disagreements with the current police commissioner. He not only is he a black man like me, but we grew up on the same street together. So there was a deeper connection, but I will hold myself accountable, so I pass it along. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think what you're seeing is there has to be like minds.
That's right.
Not like skins.
That's right.
That are in this.
Because some skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Hello. So good.
Boom shakalaka.
I just wanted to put that out there.
If you look at the coalition of people behind me, they are from every single walk of life, right? And my daughter, she cracked on me. She said, "Mommy, when you smile, maybe you'll get the Asian vote because you look kind of Asian, right?" And depending on how I have my hair, I've had people come up and speak Cape Verdean Creole, Haitian Creole, Arabic. And so, and that's not, that's just, we judge a book by its cover, not knowing what the contents are.
We haven't read that. Hello.
And then during the 50s and 60s, the power of the civil rights movement was that everybody wanted liberation. It didn't matter if you were gay, straight, black, white, old, young, we all wanted to be free. And we saw the humanity of our connection. And that's what I'm looking for in the humans.
Back. Go ahead. Yeah.
And that's the huge thing that we're seeing, right? Because we see people like Phil Owens and Michael Cox, and it's like, selling out people, and it's like, yeah, that can make them racist because there's a pecking order at BPD. Michelle Wu, is she racist? Of course she is, with all that she's done. Hiring a communications director, Jessica Pierre, who openly uses the word chinky. Then you have Gigi Coletta, that Wu supported, who she's out with all the time, dropped the N-word like there's no tomorrow, helped her get elected to city council. And that's like one of the points that I wanted to make. But the more important things right now are the shenanigans that Wu was pulling. Menino style, especially just even yesterday with the hearing on the city's hiring policy, put a convicted level 3 sex offender to work in the parks department. It's like we already know that there are already too many sex offenders the city's covering up for, but a convicted level 3 sex offender and trying to keep a lid on it until after the election.
Well, I don't know. Helen, I don't know too many administrations that has been marred with more scandals with high-ranking officials in their administration. You might have one or two pop up, but during the time. But this is almost one a week with the people that they've entrusted. So that says something about the leadership. I'm not saying that you have to. There has to be a healthy dose of fear in the sense that you will be held accountable, not of any retribution. But these folks are. If you're a city employee and you have all this free time to be out in the middle of the night getting drunk or having all of these things taking place, clearly you're not equipped to run the government.
Or you're not focused on the job.
Yeah. And a question that I wanted to ask Sharon Hinton. So if you get elected to city council,
yes, ma'am,
will you be on the side of Ed Flynn and those like him trying to put a stop to these shenanigans?
So let me put it this way. I'm on the side of righteousness. And if it looks like Ed Flynn, if it looks like Louis Elisa, if it looks like Larry Ellison, it looks like you. So, and that doesn't have, just like God is in spirit and in truth, spirit doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a skin, right? Righteousness and justice doesn't have a color, doesn't have a skin. I have seen some things that Ed Flynn said that were crazy, and I remember his father, Ray. I've seen and heard some stuff. It's like, whoa, from Frank Baker. But Frank Baker stands behind the People's Academy. So I'm on the side of being an independent voice that says, this is what God says, this is what I believe, and when you like it or not, and I've said this in public forums, I'm not going to tell you something that just makes you vote for me because it makes you feel good. What I'm going to tell you is how I believe, and I could be wrong too. I'm just a human being. But let's come to the table together and figure out what's the right way for all of the people, and then we go for that and we stand with that. I will not sit there and lie to people. First off, that's not how I roll. Second off, I'm too lazy. Because when you tell a lie, it's going to be discovered. You got to tell something else. And my bandwidth is not happening like that.
My memory's not that good.
You know what I'm saying? And not for that kind of... And the shenanigans that you're talking about, exactly right. I've seen people lie dead in my face, elected officials, and I know that they're lying. But they're skilled enough, they're professional enough, they're polished enough so they can do this, and people don't do their homework. You have until August 30th to register to vote. Find out what the issues are and then vote. We do have in District 5, 3, Lord have mercy, help Pastor Hobbs.
Your coffee. You still got the jitters.
He got the dropsies this morning. In Jesus' name, help him, Heavenly Father. So, what I won't do is sit there and side with someone when I know it's against the people. Yeah. The mayor does not elect me. I do not work for the mayor. I have not worked for this mayor. And I had so high hopes because I met her when she was running for city council. And I was walking with her in the black churches. What I will not do is stand beside you when you're wrong. And I will call you out. And I may not try to embarrass you publicly yet, but I'm not going to sit there and stand there and it's against the people. Against all the people that live on Blue Hill Avenue, nobody wants that bus going up Blue Hill Avenue. The current incumbent voted for the mayor.
Nobody
the mayor
wants stadium. Nobody wants the speed bumps. Nobody wants the bike lanes.
Well, here's the division that Helen talked about.
Nobody, but the vast majority of people
here's the division. I've seen this in the paper too. There are a group of people of color that are standing with the mayor because the mayor is giving them a slice. If you notice that all the stuff in the renovations that are happening, especially structurally with the curbs and the sidewalks and all this other stuff, is in the fourth year of her administration. Why didn't she do it the first, second, and third year? She's doing it now because it's like Nero, bread and circus, right? The people are starving, so let me bring into the gladiator games, watch somebody else get killed and throw some bread, so momentarily you forget that you're hungry. If you look at these bike lanes, you can go down Morton Street. There's bicycle lanes and there's no sidewalks. So somebody like me who has a cane and somebody has, what are we supposed to be doing? Playing dodgeball with the traffic?
Or even look at all the ambulances that can't get through. I've seen so many ambulances get stuck in these bike lanes trying to getting mirrors practically knocked off when they're trying to get someone life-saving care to a hospital. But yet somehow these bike lanes that hardly ever get used, I rarely see anyone in these bike lanes come doing the city.
I think you had
and it's like, especially someone with, say, a heart condition, every second matters.
Right. Well,
or a heart transplant, or organ transplant, and even having as someone who actually knocked on doors for Michelle Wu in her first bid for city council, just for her to stab me in the back right after.
Yeah. Well, I could use you in my campaign.
Well, I could use you in my campaign because you guys would definitely have a lot more in common. So to that point, I think you were at the press conference I was at last week about and we were standing and watching because what Helen is saying. We were watching the difficulty ambulances that were coming through, and because I don't come in the city as much as I used to when I had to come in every day for work, and I'm watching this and I'm just like, wow. And then there was a gentleman who got off the bus in a wheelchair and he couldn't even get up. So one of the people from the press conference had to go over. One of the first people,
Domingos noticed this, and he was going to leave it to go over.
And the other gentleman that went over there to help him to get up that incline. He's in the middle of this. So imagine this on a Sunday with White Stadium with all those buses. And there's a senior building right on the corner there, right? So it's crazy. Helen, thank you. We've got more calls here I want to get in.
Give me a call. Need your help.
I'll send you Sharon's information and you guys can connect.
One of the
have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you. One of the other things is the money in politics. There needs to be term limits on everybody, from the president on down, and they need to take the big money. And Uncle Bernie Sanders, he's one of the people leading the charge. This big money has got to be taken out of politics because politicians are being bought.
But the Supreme Court has been paid, so they're the ones who, and that's why I said we should not have 9 people who are unelected, who don't have term limits, and I get why some of that, but this is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
We're letting people's rights, and then to say we're going to be strict constitutionalists when you have a constitution when there were no women and no people that look like us there when they were. So I'm not going to abide by something that my people didn't have any say in. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Good morning. I have a comment and a question.
Okay.
And my comment goes like this. I had stressed this out so many times on the radio station. The American education system was never designed for black people. That's the number one fact. I don't know why people don't get it, but that's just them. And I'm not going to waste time arguing over something that's basically a factor in this country. And my second question is, how come I talked to a city councilor, June Mahida, and as a registered voter, I was asking her simple but hard questions. And my first question was, how come she didn't thank a foundational Black American, FBA, for helping her get into this country? And her response was so insulting that it made me feel like, okay, now you're just making people like we don't want to vote for her. I'm not going to repeat her answer because it was too disrespectful.
Okay.
So why is it that when foreign-born Americans come to this country or legal residents never thank a foundational Black American, because without them there would be no America?
Well, I think that's Sharon kind of alluded to that earlier when in her comments about just exactly what you were saying, and I'll let her speak for herself to what you just said.
Thank you. So first off, I can't answer for Julia Mejia. I'm not Julia Mejia. Second off, why are people ignoring foundational Black Americans? Even the term that you're using, foundational Black Americans, is a politicized term that a certain specific population uses, because you have foundational Black Americans, you've got the Bureau of the Office of Freedmen, you've got Republic of New Africa, and so there's so many different names and it's related to reparations, right?
Yes, it is.
And that's another whole piece.
That's Hobbs in his own world over there today.
Education is key. If we need to go back to our roots, and there's a reason why books about Black Americans and indigenous peoples are being banned. When you free somebody's mind, the rest will follow.
That sounds like a song that I've heard before. Free your mind, and the rest will follow.
And that was the clean version. Yeah. There's another version, but so. We have a duty to. These libraries are still free. Last time I checked.
Yes.
So we have a duty to educate. Except for the Roxbury Library. Excuse me, the Shaw Library at Nubian Square. Okay. Because that's the name of it, and that's in contention too. We need to have more.
Dickie, don't call yelling at me.
No, please. So we need to have more Black teachers. And my 501c3 Black Teachers Matter was born out of a struggle that I won for Black teachers and for myself initially. And it was fueled in coalition with students and their parents when they saw what was happening to me at a very popular charter school that is run by folks that don't look like us, with dark money that they're not being held accountable for. There is an assault on the basic foundations of democracy: freedom of the press, freedom of speech. You've got to look at what is happening. And so you're right. This country was not built on, and you can go back before it was even a country. When you think of, and this is the Bostonians who brag about, being members of the Mayflower and all this other foolishness. If you look at the Boston Tea Party, you had Caucasian people that dressed up like Native Americans. They weren't even owning their own revolution. No. Right? They were setting it up so that somebody else takes the blame.
Yes.
How is that serious? But that's not how it's taught in the schools. I remember the Nina, the Pinta, and Santa Maria, right? But Columbus never came here. He didn't free anybody. And when he went to the Caribbean islands, the first thing he said, and you can look it up, don't just believe me, that he said, these people are so friendly and so docile, I can come back with 50 soldiers and wipe them out and steal their gold. So it's always been about gaining land and gaining wealth. And, okay, I'm going to make somebody else mad. Why couldn't you sit up here and till your own land once you got, because the choices were you go to prison or you go to the New World. And that was almost certain death. And they came here and were, the first Thanksgiving, they were eating themselves. They were eating each other because they didn't know the land, they didn't know the turf, they came at the wrong time. And then Native Americans, the First Nation peoples, said, oh, this is horrible, let's feed you. And then they turned around and raided their winter storage and chopped off the head of the chief and started using it as a soccer ball. Can we talk about the real history of this country?
Well, that's what they don't want to talk about. Does that answer your question, Claude?
It sure does.
So if they didn't know it then, we sure enough don't know it now.
Right. Well, here's another tidbit, too, in regards to this. They also, again, charged them with trespassing. And they said, wait a second, when you got here, white man, the land, the river, the tree, the mountain, the sky was here.
Can't own it.
And they're like, hey, when you die, it's still going to be here. How is it yours? Yeah, the whole concept, that's another reason why they killed them, was that they challenged their concept of ownership.
A modern day version of that with all of these military people put on the ground, right? And it's coming to a
DC,
city.
that is crazy.
LA, but it's coming to a city near you.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to your
It's already here.
Right.
The week after Mayor Wu did that. First off, can somebody clarify for me if she's really Catholic? Because she testified in front of the Congress. She had the ashes, and I was like, when was she Catholic? I mean, it's not my business, but I was just wondering. And then she had a newborn baby next to her. And on the campaign trail, I'm hearing women that are highly upset about that. They're asking me, is she... And first of all, I like Mayor Wu. I don't like her policies, right?
Exactly right?
I don't like the policy. So how is it that you bring your baby around, and you've been doing that ever since you've been in the city council, but the women that work for you can't necessarily do that and have their freedom?
Well, that's the thing I brought up. So I had a very interesting conversation with a woman about that, and I said, this is not about me saying as a mom that she shouldn't, but if that right is for her, it should be
for everyone that works.
And for the husbands. Because they're single
but
parents.
I get it. You know, I was a former police officer. There's no way I'm going to bring my kid to work with me. But if you're a librarian, if you work at a community center,
if you're a
teacher, and rather than having to provide daycare, right, wouldn't it be nice for you to be able to bring your child, right? No, you have to take a leave, and the mayor should be no different. That's why they have a president of the council who can take over in the mayor's absence, right? Not saying whether the person is...
She didn't take an absence.
Exactly, because it's all about the power. You know, you don't want to relinquish that power, but how is that in the best interest of the city? This is a city that runs 24 hours a day, and if your child is with you, I'm a parent. If my child is screaming, I'm gonna go take care of that first.
Right.
If there's something that I'm supposed to be dealing with the city's map, that's gonna take second place, and it should. Right. So that's why that's why those of us who are working for the city have to take time off, because we can't do it on the city's time. And the mayor should be setting an example, not saying, "Do you know who I am?"
So at the night outs that happened a week or so ago, and the mayor she's got the machine, right? There are certain, let's be clear, there are certain people that have been placed in positions, and they only got them because of the mayor. There's certain people that are maintained in position who she's fighting for. Listen, and it's because of the mayor.
Sharon, I seen the police commissioner, Michael Cox, holding the mayor's baby. Now, if he thinks that looks good,
Jesus, why?
Mike, that is, come on.
On a black tip, I got problems with the whole mammy thing, right? Like, you got enough money, and your husband supposedly is not
left
working.
His job, yes.
So where's he at?
Yeah, what is he doing?
Where's he doing?
Staying at home, Dad.
He stayed at home. That's what happened. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
That's why Michael Cox had the baby. I don't want to turn this into a bashing mayor thing or bashing a city council thing, but the policies and the institutions are set up so that the people with the money, because the money buys the posters and the flyers and the ads and all this other stuff so that you get your name out there. I have seen Domingos de Rosa eliminated from some forums because he didn't have a certain amount of money in the bank.
Right, which is ridiculous. That's what I'm saying.
That's not democratic.
It's not. So, Sharon, we've got not much time. I want to get into some of your other platforms here. Affordable housing, and that's really kind of a loaded, right? Because the average price for a home in Boston is now $1 million, right?
Oh, the average rent for one bedroom is $3,000 and up.
Right. So, some people's interpretation of affordable, right? Boston is, we see all of the building going on here, but it's not translating into housing for people who can afford it, because they're nice looking buildings, but
some of them,
they're not affordable. Well, exactly. So what is it you think the city can do? Because I almost feel like, it's too late, because what's there is not going to revert back to being Section 8 housing or affordable housing.
So all the Section 8s have been put on pause or not transferred over. They're not being released. And there's some people that are on the Section 8 list for like 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. And the federal government has stopped authorizing it. The state has stopped authorizing it. Across Massachusetts, we need at least 400,000 units of housing. Mm-hmm. Massachusetts. Boston, again, I'll say, is the 5th most expensive city in the world. And it's because of a lot of the colleges and universities and hospitals that, we base our city services on property taxes, but a large majority of black people who used to be homeowners here have been pushed out in redline.
Those colleges,
they do not in the pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. And so there's certain city councilors that have gone against that. to no avail because of the way it was originally set up. Then, the mayor has been taking land that was abandoned or taken from black and brown, mostly black homeowners here, and giving it to developers, right? And then you have the CDCs, which have this incestuous relationship with developers. Like, your CDC does not exist unless you build a certain amount of housing, and then there's a certain percentage. So the percentage of affordable units within this building needs to be increased. And then also, it had some anti-displacement policies need to happen. The City Life, I have to give them a shout out because they are and have been on the ground as a grassroots organization, keeping people from losing their houses, losing their homes, losing their apartments. But that needs to be on a statewide basis. That needs to be on a citywide basis. Don't just keep building units and you're not building businesses so people can stay here and do that. And there's policies that I've worked with. I'm actually working with Minyard Culpepper, who's running for District 7 because he was at HUD for over 20 years. And so he's seen from the outside. And there's other people that I have that's like my dream team in each one of these policies that are on the ground, that are also policymakers. We're coming up with stuff that is different and that is new and not just what's there, because what's there is not working.
Wow. No, that's true. So I got a minute. I want you to, I know it's a short time because but then I'm going to let you, because I want you to finish on what your pitch to folks and why they should come and vote for you. And maybe we definitely have to have you back because I really want to get into what's happening with our brothers and sisters, Haitian, like that population of folks who know.
People are afraid to go to work. They're afraid to go to school.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's horrible. Right. And it's not just Haitian, it's Latinos, but Haitians in particular from this Orange Menace the protections have been moved. So, have been eliminated. So how do you do that? When people are actually trying to do it legally and you still keep assaulting them.
White people from South Africa in here saying that their
lands are being taken and they need protection.
Right.
It's the oppression Olympics.
Right. Yeah. We've got a couple of 2 minutes. I want to give you your closing argument and make your pitch to our listening audience on why they should vote for you and win the election. I know it's September 9th. This is the primary. Primary, and the deadline is August 30th, which is in a couple weeks for registering to vote. People aren't aware of what's going on, but so you have.
And there's also early voting that's happening August 30th, August 31st, and September 2nd. So you can actually vote early. You can vote by mail, but please vote, especially in District 7, which is historically the lowest voting district that needs the most help when your life expectancy is 25 to 30 years less. And the net worth of black people is $8, while it's $247,000 for Caucasians.
Increase for the other side, but go ahead.
So here's why I want you to vote for me, and I would love for you to vote for me, but not just voting, because if you're not in District 5, which is Rosendale, Mattapan, Hyde Park, and Reedville, then you can't vote for me. But what you can do is you can donate, you can volunteer, you can make phone calls, you can go on social media, donate, volunteer. You can work on the polls.
And give them your website so they want to
www.sharonhinton.d5.com. That's the website. My phone number is 617-777-0657. I am the one with the experience, with the lived experience. I've done this, done that, inside the system, out of the system. I'm an educator. I was halted getting my doctorate in education at Northeastern University because I wanted to find out what makes systems work and how does this system keep reinventing itself to oppress everyone. My slogan, neighbor to neighbor together, is we're only going to be able to do that if we look at our neighbor as someone who's like family, someone who's actually intricate to our survival. We can make District 5 come alive and thrive, and we can do that together. And I invite you to vote for me. I'm number 3, but first shall be last and last shall be first. And so I'm a woman of faith. I'm a mother, a homeowner, an educator. I teach. And let me teach you something. You've got to get out and vote so that your vote counts. Julie Mahian knows it. One vote got her back in office. And I need all of your votes. I need more than one. And I'm here for everybody. Please vote for me September 9th. That is the preliminary election. Don't wait until you think that November 4th is the real election. They're all real. And if you want people to get on the ballot, you believe in what they're saying, the independent voice that I have, that is definitely independent than what's there and what's being proposed, you'll vote for Sharon Hinton. There's never been a woman that has won, and never been a black person that's won in District 5, and that's by design.
One is powerful. Sharon Hinton, candidate for City Council District 5. Thank you for coming back and gracing the airways here at Boston Praise Radio.
Thank you.
And you are welcome back anytime.
Yes. Thank you.
You'll be back after the preliminaries.
I love your energy.
In Jesus' name.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. You've been listening to that Roundtable with MAMLEO.
hustle real hard, hustle so if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, no, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog. I wrote 300 songs in 1 year, Boogie will tell you I'm on it. I got unreleased songs for days, they don't want it. Eat any MC in the game, it ain't a challenge. If your music reflects who you are, then you's a coward. I can see through the lies, you ain't living what you spitting. If your money's so long, why your dog's in prison? Why your baby mom's stripping, why your mom's still living in that same broken home that you used to sell piffin'? You ain't gotta lie to me to sell me a track. You ain't gotta rock fake jewels or walk around strapped. I respect artists getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track can move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst, and the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks. This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer, cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle so if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, no, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard.